Hello and welcome to the first Left in the Stalls podcast. Inspired by more established groups such as the Final Furlong and When They Seem to Care on the Other Hoof. You haven't posted anything for a while, so we're not here to take over, but you know what, there's obviously a gap in the market. We'll be previewing and sometimes reviewing various horse races, both on the flats and over the obstacles, all the way through the calendar year. To give you a brief introduction, the man behind the creation of this fledgling stab at mainstream racing punditry is Steve Martin. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for the flattering intro.
It's okay. Not to be confused, of course, with the Silverhead star of such box office hits as Father of the Bride, Cheaper by the Dozen, and Father of the Bride 2. I think that was the second one. That's it, I can't think of any more.
Yeah.
Steve's been an avid follower of the Nags for well over a decade now, and I think it'd be fair to say that you're winning the battle against the bookmakers, just about?
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take?
We'll say yes for now.
I think what's the stats? About was it 5% of winning gamblers, so it must be good to be that 1 in 20.
I mean, yeah, basically, that's my life's dream, so happy with that.
It's believable. So obviously the war between the man and house is in its infancy, so we'll see how it goes. As Steve mentioned, my name's Chris. I've known Steve for a fair few years now, finding much common ground in various sports that probably shouldn't even be called sports, darts and snooker and stuff that's really played by old men in smoky rooms. But also we're bonded by the love of a good punt. My own interest in horse racing has been cultivated mainly through Steve, but I can't profess to being anywhere near his league, although what league that is will surely be judged on how these podcasts go. Very good so far, I think we should say. Before we get started, you can follow us on Twitter at Left in the Stalls to get regular updates. I say regular updates. Steve has a little bit of a problem with actually waking up at a time ending with the letters AM, so we'll see how that goes as well. The follower-laden account has 27 people. I'm not reading it wrong. It's 27, and at least 17 of those are actually real people. So we've clearly gone global. And coping with the demand of this will be a true test of our character going forward. So moving on from this jiggery pokery. First race Steve's going to look at tomorrow will be the 3:25 at Newmarket. Now this is the Bunbury Cup handicap, and heading the market is Tash Week, ridden by Jim Crowley, currently at odds of 11-2. Thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, Tash Week ran pretty well last time out. Pretty big price. I think it was 6-1 at Royal Ascot. Losing by about 3/4 of a length to Zhui Feng. It's a fair favourite, to be honest. It's the first name that grabbed my attention. But when you're looking at the prices at 11-2 best, you're not loving life that much.
There's a lot of runners in the race.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it should run a good race. It's probably a reasonable each way. I see Sky Better going 6 places for those that can, which is always a reasonably nice concession for the amateurs amongst us.
Very high and mighty there.
I include myself in that. And, that will become evident as we go forward, and I start just tipping up every favourite. But I mean, Tash Week's a reasonable place to start. Steady pace as well. A little bit of a bigger price. Looking at third favourite. It's performed admirably in handicaps. So I'll be looking at that one each way. Not really looking at the 8-1 at Sky Bet for the 6 places. You've got 10-1 elsewhere, so that's the first place I'd go for each way. Steady pace at 10-1.
Thing I'd say about that as well is Josephine Gordon is in fairly good form, I'd say, at the moment. Certainly the leading female jockey out there at the moment, and the one that seems to be getting all the good rides.
Yeah, she's definitely making a name for herself. There's always been this contention about women riders being as good as the men, and there's, I think, reasonably fair conclusion that where men are a little bit stronger naturally, they're probably going to have a slight edge. I know from comments in the past, Josie Gordon doesn't agree with that, and to be fair, she's as good a rider as any man out there, really. So
there was something about at some point where they were talking about giving all female riders a sort of £3 claim, weren't they? Wasn't that being mooted at some point?
Yeah, and I think that was fair. I know that it's been. I think Tony McCoy's mentioned it, and Kevin Blake of Final Furlong and At the Races fame.
It's a good name drop there.
Yeah,
I'm sure
he wrote an interesting article on it, and I would agree generally. And it's fair enough that the top women riders possibly don't need it, but if you're going to try and encourage more people into the game, more women into having better chances potentially to make a name for themselves, then I don't think that's a bad thing. So I think it would be a reasonable thing. But slight digression. But yeah, looking a bit further down the list, Bossy Guest it's reasonably. It ran well in the Guineas. Was it a couple 2-3 years ago now? Hasn't really done an awful lot since, and it's just sort of seems to be sitting on a mark that tends to be a little bit too much. But you just wouldn't be surprised if he does just knock a bit of a performance out there, and a longer price. He could be worth an each way shout as well. And Sutter County is the final one to mention. He won on his, I think it was his handicap debut at Goodwood, and he did that pretty well from the front, which he might struggle to get a commanding lead.
I think I remember Sutter County actually taking a little bit of time to get the maiden tag off its back, actually, if I remember rightly. I don't think
potentially. I can't remember now, but
it's had a little bit of.
He was rated pretty highly as a 2-year-old. I think they thought he was going to be a little bit better. They had him as a sprinter, and he doesn't quite pick up quick enough, I don't think, to be a sprinter. He actually won first time out, so he didn't wait too long for his maiden tag to be lost. But
that's a sort of great info that you'll get from me.
Yeah. So he's won twice this year. He's probably a little bit held at his handicap, but he gets the 3-year-old allowance. So 28-1, maybe worth a small each way as well. So personally, I'd settle for steady pace, Bossy Guest, and maybe Sutter County, looking foolish potentially.
Okay, so that's fair enough. So steady pace being the main pick, you'd say then, at the prices.
Yeah, just about. I mean, yeah, Tash Week. It just wouldn't surprise me if he does actually just. He might make the price look better than what it is at the moment. But off 106, in a however many runners there are, 20 runner race. Yeah, short enough.
Okay, that's good. Well, it's a big race, but I think, considering Steve's past, I think giving himself only 3 runners is definitely an improvement on previous.
I could have gone for 4 or 5 quite happily.
Yes.
I'm trying to add a little bit of respectability to myself.
No, definitely. No, if we can keep the amount of horses mentioned in a betting context today to under 30, that'd be great. So we'll see how we go. So moving swiftly on. Well, the big race of the weekend, and probably the big race of the month, is the July Cup, which is at 4:35 at Newmarket. For me personally, it's probably the most exciting looking July Cup lineup for a little while. As a massive Slade Power fan, who won it a couple of years ago, it takes a lot for me to say, but there's a lot of really promising horse in this race, especially the 3-year-olds. So, if we have a look at the market, obviously it's being headed up bullishly by Caravaggio, who, after missing the break at Ascot, came home pretty well in the end to take the it's Commonwealth Cup, wasn't it? It was Commonwealth Cup. Yeah. Over, it was Harry Angel and
Blue Point
was the other one, of course. Yeah. I thought it won it quite well. I mean, it wasn't mind-blowing stuff, but it got the job done and probably saved a few people from going broke as they doubled it up with Winter. But 11-10 best price. Probably not going to move much from that going into tomorrow. What do you think? Is it a bet at 11 to 10, or do you think it's there to be shot at?
Well, yeah. Touching on the Ascot race quickly, didn't really get me out of trouble in the last couple of days. To be fair, I was on the 2 Godolphin horses each way, so the race itself. I mean, Caravaggio, I know it reared slightly in the stalls, but I don't think it lost that much coming out of the stalls. It looked like a reasonable pace, to be fair. I know it's a sprint, but it looked like Harry Angel was setting some reasonable fractions on the front end. And to be honest, of the 3 big ones, Caravaggio looked to be the first one in trouble, probably just over 2 furlongs out. I mean, O'Brien has been quoted as saying it's the fastest horse he's ever had, I think. But yeah, just needs a little bit of.
We get a lot of something horse I've ever had from O'Brien. To be fair.
We do, yeah. That's been mentioned a few times where it has been quoted, but it seems as though he might have said this from quite an early stage rather than just for the old stud fees. But
yes.
I mean, in fairness, he is showing that he potentially was a good judge here. It just takes a little bit of time to get going. It's just a few strides, but then when he does, it just obliterates it really. 11 to 10, no, couldn't really be going for that. But I know that he was 7 to 2 a few weeks ago.
He was, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a sort of couple of sort of online forums that were sort of advocating a bet at 7 to 2, and that's looking pretty handy. Next in the market is, if I remember rightly, a little bit of a favourite of yours in Limato. Currently a 9 to 2 second favourite. Are we looking at an each way to nothing here?
No, I do like Limato. Really big fan. When he was his 2-year-old season was absolutely phenomenal. Really, he was brilliant. I don't think he's flat deceived since. I think he's been a very good horse since then. And I don't think I was on him for the Diamond Jubilee, but he ran another good race. I just think. I mean, he won this last year, and he won this for me last year. So got this.
He did win it for you. You were very much in his thoughts.
I'd imagine that he in his mind he was really putting that last furlong in, especially for me. But yeah, I don't know. But essentially, I feel as though there's a couple bit better off here, especially at the prices.
Well, I'm gonna leave Harry Angel for a second because I know you're gonna want to touch on him. But then the next 2 in the market are 2 that are very, very closely matched on recent form as well, and they're the Tin Man and LITS. Now I was on LITS in terms of thinking it's got a real shot at the race, and I did think it was a touch unlucky in running when losing to the Tin Man in the end. In what was a pretty thrilling finish. 1, does it reverse the form? And 2, do you think it's got any chance of getting anywhere near the main protagonists in the market?
Yeah. Looking at both of them, like you say, they are pretty evenly matched. I
like Tasli. I do think that last run. I do think it just got that little bit hampered. And does it win? Possibly not. But I think with a better passage through, I think it's got a real chance. To me personally, in my infinite wisdom, I do think Tasli is the each way bet of the race.
Yeah, he's one of my each way bets anyway. But just touching on the Diamond Jubilee, I don't think he'd have won. I remember at the time I was vehement that there was no way he was going to win. When I watched it back a couple of times, I could see he would have got closer. He was definitely impeded. The whole Stewards' Inquiry thing was a bit of a strange one because Limato wasn't winning in a million years, I don't think. And if they were going to reverse placings, they would have had to have made Limato somehow win from. No, Limato finished third, didn't he? Or did he? Did he finish?
He did finish third, yes.
Yeah. And Limato was the one that was the mainly hampered, so there's no way that he could have really won. And Tasli, at the time, I just thought he wasn't hampered enough, but it was enough of a hit that it